Hello and welcome back to somebody on WrestleMania and to WWE Crown Jewel 2025 out of 10. This is the first time the event's being held out of Saudi Arabia and it's being held in Australia. So yeah, a fun show with matches including Seth Rollins v Cody Rhodes, Tiffany Stratton v Stephanie Vicker and John Cena v AJ Styles one last time. But we started things off with Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed in an Australian street fight. The OTC won the previous encounter, so Bronson was looking to even out. The crowd was singing for Reigns before he let loose with the first punch of the match. He started running Reed from the corner, with the crowd reacting loudly to everything. It only took a few minutes before the fight spilled out of the ring and the crowd got into it. The OTC remained in control as he used a garbage can as a weapon. The tribal chief was having a great time playing to the crowd. He even grabbed a mic and asked some fans they wanted to see the table, which obviously got them excited. A long time for Reed to finally begin mounting some offense, but once he did, it became much more back and forth. Once Braun showed up to assist his teammate, it gave the Usos an opening to help Reigns. Jay accidentally speared Reigns through a table, which set up the tsunami for Bronson to get the win. The match was a series of small sequences. They would do things for a lull. It's kind of stop-start. That being said, it was a decent match. It wasn't the violent spectacle WWE would have you believe it was, but Reed getting a W was the right call and could be big for him. And it'd be intriguing to see where we go with Reigns and the Usos now. So yeah, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Next up, it was Tiffany Stratton versus Stephanie Vicker for the Women's Crown Jewel Championship. Neither of their titles were on the line, and the CJ belt won't be defended like a normal title, so it was purely a pride fight. The crowd chanted for both women as the bell rang. They circled each other for a few times before locking out. They had a nice exchange, but when Stratton extending her hand as a sign of respect, Vicker tried to kick her. The Primera has been a more aggressive competitor. She wasn't working like a heel, but she wasn't leaning into a babyface either. The longer this match went, the more competitive it felt. Both women used some moves, but it didn't feel them from often in an attempt to make the match stand out. They had a couple of sloppy spots, but the majority of what they did was good. Vicker got the victory, a corkscrew moonsault, and became the second champion. Triple H presented it with her. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Moving on then to John Cena versus AJ Styles, and yeah, it's probably the most anticipated. They both got a warm welcome, but Cena was definitely nailed. Both men had special introductions by the ring announcer. Once the bell rang, they locked up and went to work. Styles applied a simple headlock to start. They weren't rushing into anything because they felt like they had a lot of time to fill. Styles was a step ahead of Cena in their first few sequences, which led to a TNA chant. After a few minutes of the P1 outpacing the 17 champ, Cena started to look gassed. He made a comeback and hit a 5-knuckle shovel, followed by the AA, but he failed to get the pin. When he tried to use the STF, Styles countered into a crossface. It seemed like both men had a counter for everything the other tried. They had a sequence where both men were using their own finishes and moves for some of their bigger rivals, but neither men could seal the deal, which was fine as the crowd was chanting "Fight Forever." Was this a 5-star match that will be talked about for years to come? No, but it was a fun with a lot of callbacks. Absolutely, they may not be for everyone, but for the fans who liked it, they probably loved it. Cena and Styles have always been good in the ring together, and they didn't try and outdo their previous performances. This was two veterans having a fun last pop. For roughly 30 minutes, they had the crowd eating their hearts out, and it took a tombstone power drive followed by an AA for Cena to put Styles down. I thought it was really fun, especially the callbacks. You know, the skull crushing finale, Scorpion Death Drop, Accolade, Coquina Clutch, Walls of Jericho, Sister Abigail, Angel's Wings, RKO, AA. You know, Fade to Black, Chokeslam, Sweet Chin music, and the tombstone. It had it all. Before we moved on to the Kabuki Warriors versus Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley was obviously the favourite here, and she started the match, but it didn't feel like it got going until Sky tagged in. Early in the match, Asuka made her feelings clear when she tried to offer a handshake, only to put it away and yell at the genius of Sky. Ripley and Sane were taking breathers, so the Empress of Tomorrow and her former friend could have a long sequence themselves. Sky had the upper hand until Sane got involved and helped Asuka send her into the ring post. Sky spent a long time on the defence while the Kabuki Warriors double teamed her. Sky and Asuka both tagged out at the same time, and the crowd exploded when Ripley came in and started beating up both. This was exactly what we all expected. All four of them brought a lot of energy and physicality. There wasn't a weak link. Everyone played a great role, and the ref gave a lot of leeway when it came to making the most of non-legal partners leave the ring. So the second half of this was very good. Saint sacrificed herself to save Asuka, but it led to her demise as Ripley and Sky hit their finishers for the pretty fun win. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It was then Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins in the main event for the Men's Crown Jewel Championship, and WWE kept reminding us that Rhodes had a perfect record against the Visionary. He came out of the gate hot and sent Rollins out of the ring to throw a tantrum. Rhodes came after him, but the Visionary took control and started working over his opponent's leg and taunting him. Every match these two have had has been great, and this was no exception. This likely won't be considered better than any of their previous encounters, but it told a different story. This is about how desperate Rollins was to stop history repeating itself. He tried to use Rhodes' watch to save him as a weapon, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. This allowed Cody to make a comeback and hit a flurry of moves. Both men took risks and had some close calls along the way, but Rollins eventually used the weapon behind the rest back, hitting a super stomp to get the win. I thought a very nice callback, told the story well, and probably the right result. 8 out of 10. And overall, Crown Jewel gets a 7 out of 10 from me. I thought it was a fairly standard PLE, most predictable outcomes, a ton of ads, but I thought, it did have lots of intriguing stuff. The champion v champion stuff was good. The Cena v Styles match to me was really fun. Enjoyed the main event. Ray's getting a big win. There's lots of good stuff on the card. 7 out of 10 for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.